Lesson 5. Feeding relationships of organisms in an ecosystem. You are welcome back. With that much we have already learned about the ecosystem so far, you should want to know how the organisms in an ecosystem feed for sustenance. Well, the feeding relationships that exist among organisms in an ecosystem shall be our focus today. Ecosystems include autotrophs, organisms such as plants that manufacture their own food from external source of energy, and heterotrophs, consumers such as animals, fungi, and many protists. Once energy enters an ecosystem, it is passed from one organism to another by injection as food or decomposition. Primary consumer converts light energy or rarely energy from chemosynthesis into chemical bonds. Consumers rely on producers for their energy sources. All food chain begin with producers, followed by primary consumers, secondary consumers, and tertiary consumers. The feeding relationship among species within a community is an important concrete tool for showing species interactions and community structure and understanding the dynamics of energy transfer in an ecosystem. For this reason, this lesson will take us to different feeding relationships among organisms. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to define the terms heterotrophy and autotrophy. State the two types of autotrophs and how they make food, and list the three classes of heterotrophs and what they feed on. The keywords are autotrophs, heterotrophs, and decomposers. Energy enters ecosystems in the form of sunlight or chemical compounds. Some organisms, like producers, autotrophs, use this energy to make food, usable energy. Other organisms, consumer heterotrophs, get energy by eating the producers. They pass some of the energy on to other consumers when they are eating. In this way, energy flows from one living thing to another. All living things need energy. They need it to power the processes of life. For example, it takes energy to grow. It also takes energy to produce offspring. In fact, it takes energy just to stay alive. Remember that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. First law of thermodynamics. It can only change form. Energy changes form as it moves from ecosystems. This explains the flows of energy in an ecosystem. Producers, autotrophs. Producers are organisms that produce food for themselves and other organisms. They use energy and simple inorganic molecules to make organic compounds. The stability of producers is vital to ecosystems because all organisms need organic molecules. Producers are also called autotrophs. There are two basic types of autotrophs. We have photoautotrophies and chemoautotrophies. Photoautotrophies use energy from sunlight to make food by photosynthesis. They include plants, algae, and chemoautotrophies. Use energy from chemical compounds to make food by chemosynthesis. They include some bacteria and other archaea. Archaea are microorganisms that resemble bacteria. The energy of the sun is first captured by producers. Organisms that can make their own food, many producers make their own food through the process of photosynthesis. The food the producer make is the sugar, glucose. Producer make food for the rest of the ecosystem. As energy is not recycled, energy must consistently be captured by the producers. This energy is then passed on to the organisms that heat the producer, and then to the organisms that heat those organisms, and so on. Recall that the only required ingredients needed for photosynthesis are sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water. From these simple inorganic ingredients, photosynthesis organisms produce the carbohydrates, glucose, and other complex organic compounds. Essentially, these producers are changing the energy from the sunlight into a usable form of energy. They are also making the oxygen that we breathe. Oxygen is a waste product of photosynthesis. The survival of every ecosystem is dependent on the producers. Without producers capturing the energy from the sun and turning it into glucose, an ecosystem could not exist. On land, plants are the dominant. On land, plants are the dominant producers. Phytoplanktons, tiny photosynthetic organisms, are the most common producers in the oceans and lake. Algae, which is the green layer you might see flowing on a pond, an example of phytoplankton. There are also bacteria that use chemical processes to produce food. They get their energy from sources other than the sun, but they are still called producers. This process is known as chemosynthesis and is common in ecosystems without sunlight, such as certain marine ecosystems. Consumers, heterotrophs. Consumers are organisms that depend on other organisms for food. They take in organic molecules by essentially eating other living things. They include all animal and fungi. Fungi don't really eat, they absorb nutrients from other organisms. They also include many bacteria and even a few plants, such as the pitcher plants. Consumers are also called heterotrophs. Heterotrophs are classified by what we eat. Herbivores consume producers such as plants or algae. They are necessary link between producers and other consumers. Examples include deer, rabbits, and mice. Carnivores consume animals. Examples include hawk, frog, spider. Carnivores that are unable to digest plants and must eat only animals are called obligate carnivores. Other carnivores can digest plants but do not commonly eat them. Omnivores. Omnivores consume both plants and animals. They include humans, pigs, brown bears, gulls, crows, and some species of fish. Decomposers. The organisms that obtain their energy from other organisms are called consumers. All animals are consumers and they eat other organisms. Fungi and many protists and bacteria are also consumers. Whereas animals eat other organisms, fungi, protists, and bacteria. Consume organisms through different methods. They are known as decomposer. When organisms die, they leave behind energy and matter in their remains. Decomposers break down the remains and other waste and releases simple inorganic molecules back to the environment. Producers can then use the molecules to make new organic compounds. The stability of decomposers is essential to every ecosystem. Decomposers are classified by types of inorganic matter they break down. We have scavengers. Scavengers consume the soft tissues of dead animals. Examples of scavengers include vultures, raccoons, and blowflies. Detritivores consume detritus and dead leaves, animals' feces, and other organic debris that are used on the soil or at the bottom of a body of water. On land, detritivores include earthworms, millipedes, and dung beetles. In water, detritivores include bottom feeders such as sea cucumbers and catfish. Saprotrophs are the final stage in decomposition. They feed on any remaining organic matter that is left after other decomposers do their work. Saprotrophs include fungi and single-celled protozoa. Fungi are the only organisms that can decompose wood. Organisms in an ecosystem are connected in numerous ways. Some organisms may benefit another, compete with each other for resources, and of course eat one another, feeding on another organism, passes energy from one organism to the other. The flow of energy through an ecosystem is represented in a food chain. This is where we draw the curtain for today's lesson. Take a quick recap of the takeaways. Autotrophs manufacture their own food. Heterotrophs consume foods, while decomposers break down waste and other remnants, releasing inorganic molecules back into the environment. The two basic types of autotrophs are photoautotrophs and chemoautotrophs. Autotrophs are classified according to what they eat into herbivores, carnivores, and omnivores. Decomposers are classified by type of organic matter they break down into scavengers, detritivores, and saprotrophs. The flow of energy through an ecosystem is represented in a food chain. See you in our next class, where we discuss the food chain, but first attempt these quick test questions. What other names can we call autotrophs? Heterotrophs can also be called what? What are the decomposers? Bye.